right? So now she's asking herself, it's not true. It could never be true. In other words, she is now torn by a conflict. As we said that she has inner conflict. She has some doubts about what she did. Far from having been able to help Krogstad, she is herself faced with a dilemma. She now does not think it's proper even to let her children come near her. So she thought that it is not proper, it is not good even to let her children come near her. Why? Because she thought that she is poisoning them, she is corrupting, she is not good anymore. So that's why she prefers to keep them away from her. Now, when the maid servant asks Noura if she should bring the children, Noura replies that the children should be asked to stay with their nurse and should not be allowed to come to her. So she said that it's better not to let them come near her. Why? Because, as I said, that she thinks of herself as not a good mother anymore. Right? Why? Because what she did would affect negatively on her children, on her family, the same as Krogstad did. So to stay with their nurse and should not be allowed to come to her nurse. Helmer's words have thus produced a profoundly disturbing effect upon her. Now, again, as we said, Noura in a terrible fix. Now, it's Christmas Day. Noura continues to be in a deeply disturbed state of mind. She could not have any rest. She is all the time thinking of what she did and why she did that and what's the effect of what she did. So her mind is quite busy with all these things about her future with her family and with her children. When the nurse who had been asked to bring the books containing her fancy dress costumes comes with the books, Noura asks her about the children. So Noura asks her about the children. The nurse replies that they are playing with their Christmas toys, but that they have been asking for their mommy. So the children miss their mother and they keep asking about her. So when she asked about her children, the nurse replies that they are playing with their Christmas toys, but they have been asking for their mommy. Okay. Now, Noura says that from now onwards, she would not be able to spend as much time with the children as she had been doing previously. Now she is trying to separate herself from her children because of the words she heard from Helmer. Helmer said that such kind of person who makes an offense, who commits a crime, would affect negatively on his children or her children. So now she thinks of not being with her children in order not to corrupt them, in order not to affect on them negatively. So Noura says that from now onwards, she would not be able to spend as much time with the children as she had been doing previously. When the nurse has gone and Noura is alone, she again begins to feel troubled by all sorts of doubts. She has lots of doubts about the things she did. Now, Krogstad had threatened her with a disclosure of her criminal, of forgery, and Helmer has made her feel that her influence on her own children would be pernicious. Of course, Helmer does not know in the least that Noura had been guilty of forgery. So when Helmer speaks about the effect of bad fathers on their children, he did not have any idea about what his wife did. It was like speaking in general, and in particularly about Krogstad himself. He had no idea that his wife did the same offense and did the same crime. But Noura keeps thinking of what he said. Noura keeps tormenting herself and feeling guilty towards her family of what she did. And she shouldn't actually, to be honest, she shouldn't think of this. Why? Because she did not want, of course, when she got the money, she did not want to cause any harm to her family. She did not want to corrupt her family. As I said, she did this even when she got the money from the bank. She did not get that money to buy something for herself. She did not get the money to buy a house, to buy a car, to buy like diamonds, dresses, clothes for herself. No, she got the money, gave this money to the doctors to treat her husband, and they moved, as I said, to live in Italy as recommended by the doctors, right? So that's why she did not get any benefit of that money. On the contrary, it was like a burden on her, because he did not know anything about this money, and she had to give the money back, to return, to pay installments to the bank again without his knowledge, of course. So, of course, Helmer does not know in the least that Noura had been guilty of forgery. Now, he does not even know that she had borrowed money from Krogstad. So this is very important. He did not know that she had borrowed money from Krogstad. He has been under the impression that she had got the money for the trip to Italy from her father. So he thought that the money that helped them to move to Italy for a while, to make that trip to Italy, he thought that Noura got that money from her father and not from the bank as a loan. Noura had never told Helmer about the loan. She never told him about this, or about the person from whom she had taken the loan or anything. So she did not tell him that she got that money as a loan from the bank. He has no idea. All the time he thought that Noura had got that money from her father and not from the bank, or about the person from whom she had taken the loan, or anything about her forging her father's signature. Indeed, Noura is now feeling tortured by her thoughts about Krogstad's threat, and even more or so her criminal act and her influence upon her children. Helma's rejection of Noura's recommendation. Now, as we said, that Noura tries to convince Helmer to keep Krogstad in the bank and not to dismiss him. And why she's doing this? Because we know that Krogstad has something against her. He knew that it was Noura who signed the papers, the bank papers, not her father. As her father, this is very important, her father died 3 days ago before the signature. Her father died on the 29th of September, while the papers were signed on the 2nd of October, which means 3 days after his death, and this is impossible, as we know. So Noura now takes up with Helmer the case of Krogstad. She had already spoken to him on Krogstad's behalf, but he had told her that he could not do anything for him. He cannot do anything for him, for that man. Now, once again, she appeals to him to let Krogstad keep his job at the bank. Helmer says that he's going to give Krogstad's job to Mrs. Lindy. Noura suggests that he should keep Krogstad in his post and dismissed some other cleric and office in order to accommodate Mrs. Lindy. Now, Helmer says that she should not persist. She should not persist in her suggestion because it is simply impossible for him to keep Krogstad in the bank. So he insisted on dismissing him out of the bank. Noura says that in case Krogstad is dismissed, he might spread false propaganda against him and her, and thus bring both of them into disrepute.